How you guys doing today? It's Anthony Gangi. Welcome to another episode of Tier Talk. Guys, great dialogue today. We're going to be talking about empowering staff. How important that is right now, guys. We want staff to be motivated. And a great way to motivate staff is literally by empowering them, letting them know that you trust them. It's going to be a great dialogue. I'm going to share the dialogue with Russ Hamilton, who'll be on shortly. But I just want to announce my three sponsors. First, we have American Military University, a great online school. Guys, if you are seeking higher education, you want to get that degree, please check out American Military University. They're very supportive of what we do in corrections and also very supportive of the show Tier Talk. So it's a double bonus, if you will. And we also have Guardian RFID. From inmate tracking and cell checks to cloud-based business and artificial intelligence, Guardian RFID digitally transforms jails, prisons, and juvenile detention facilities of every shape and size. Visit GuardianRFID.com for more information. And we also have Shea USA. Now that's CEIA. CEIA. Tier Talk sponsored by Shea USA. Shea is the world's leading weapons, cell phone, and contraband detection system manufacturer for corrections. For more information, contact Joe Vasquez at 440-261-7615. He's a subject matter expert. He's passionate about our industry, and he will take good care of you. All right, so let me get Russ, my boy Russ, on. Hello, Russ. What's going on?
Anthony, how's it going tonight?
Good. Hey, Russ, you mind introducing yourself to our audience, please?
Oh, no, not at all, of course. My name's Russ Hamilton. I am a former and retired sergeant with California Department of Corrections Rehabilitation. I am also a former senior juvenile correctional officer, and I currently work for a private company that does re-entry and rehabilitation work with a local probation department and a local jail where I am the case manager.
Well, thank you for your service, sir. So today, Russ, we're going to be talking about empowering staff. I think in today's time, it's very important that our leaders are empowering our staff because we do need future leaders. And the best way to, develop future leaders is by cultivating them right at the lowest level at the beginning of their career. Teach them decision making and get them to be invested. So what we're going to do today is we're going to provide you with 5 reasons why you want to empower your staff. Reason number 1, empowering staff equates to trust and higher morale. What do you got for that, Russ?
Okay, so this should be self-evident. Unfortunately, I think if, you have one of those supervisors or managers that takes things for granted, it may not be. If you want to be a better supervisor, if you want to be a better manager, this is the root to the hearts of your staff there. You want them to have a higher morale. You want them to feel that you trust them. You want them to feel that, you are invested in the decisions that they make and that you trust them because of your excellent training ability to go out there and make decisions. The opposite of this, if you just flip it around and look at it from the opposite angle, clearly is nothing but micromanagement. If you want to destroy morale, that's exactly what you do. You micromanage, you don't put people in the decision loop, and you cut them out of the product, and you don't give them a place of decision making at the table. So all of those things are antithetical toward building higher morale and building trust between you and them and between them and you.
Right. And guys, when, like Russ said, opposite of empowerment is micromanagement. It is the direct opposite of empowerment. So if I'm micromanaging my employees, I'm telling my employees, I don't trust you. And the reason why morale is easily affected by this, just besides the pressure of being micromanaged, is that I think people that are go-getters, high achievers, people that want to reach their greatest potential, they're going to constantly get momentum. And they're going to constantly want to kind of ride that momentum out. But when you have a micromanager who does the opposite of empowering, they kill that momentum every step of the way. Would you agree with that, Russ?
Yeah, certainly. That's the way that you truly want to try and approach your people is by getting them to buy into your vision. What reason do they have to buy into a vision where that vision is of them having no value?
Love that. And then we're gonna be getting to that soon. So thank God you cut that off real quick because you almost crossed into, I think it's tip advice number 3. So
I'm a I'm a highly trained broadcast professional. I know
yeah,
exactly where my words are going and exactly when to stop.
yeah, that was awesome. I was getting ready, like, no, and then you're like, you did it on your own. So thank you. Hats off, Russ. That saved us without having to blend those tips or those pieces of advice. That brings us to number 2. Empowering staff leads to quicker decision making, faster problem resolution, and decreases dead time. I think with this, Russ, if you don't mind going first, I just want to mention something. When you empower staff, so basically, I always say this, guys, is that as leaders, you're going to, delegate the what and you empower the how. The good thing about that is when you empower the how, you lead the decision making to the individuals on the floor. Therefore, the decisions being made are less centralized. And that's what causes dead time when you're waiting for someone else to approve a decision that you could really immediately make right now on the floor. But what's your thoughts on that, Russ?
Okay, so if we just go back just a little bit to the first part, about what we were talking about in that section, and we bring it back around to this, and we start talking about, what is it that causes staff to really want to please, and that's being put into that loop. And in this case, when they know that they want to please you, and they know that they want to come up with the right decision, a quick decision, and they want to, do what's right in your eyes because you won them over at that level, this is what happens. It's a synergy of different moving parts where everyone feels like they have the power to move something forward. They have the power to take action, and they already know that they have your blessing because you have empowered them. Several times, I've done this in front of officers who I felt that they really needed to hear the message where, I've told an inmate right there in front of them, I said, you're coming and you're trying to get past this officer to get to me, the sergeant. Well, let me just assure you that this officer, he speaks for me. So talking to him is the same as talking to me, and giving that to your staff, making them appreciative of it so that they want to go that extra mile to really, move that ball downfield and just, really help with the mission. And that mission could be, of the day, the moment, the month, or whatever.
Yeah, and guys, be mindful, guys. When it comes to empowerment, there are defined parameters within that empowerment, which is great. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, if you have an officer that, let's say, needs to handle something on the floor, they should be able to handle stuff that is within those defined parameters of being an officer, as opposed to trying to push that up to be some centralized location. Because the problem with that is that you have officers that wind up, instead of you breeding leadership individuals, people that are willing to make decisions, you wind up breeding officers or frontline staff that become reliant on somebody else making the decisions for them. So therefore, you get people that wind up being less accountable for their decisions, and that's going to
Now,
cost.
don't stunt their growth. Do not stunt their growth. Give them what they need. Give them all of the training, and then let them go with some of those decisions. Even if some of those decisions aren't right, they'll grow into it if you're there to cultivate them.
Yeah, and that's the key, guys. You have to be present, and again, it's going to cross into number 3 where we talk about investment and value. But remember, guys, in the end, if the officer has, or that frontline member, staff member has that defined parameter and it's spelled out clearly to them that this is what you're responsible for, these are your prescribed roles, you have to give them the flexibility within that defined parameter to make decisions. That's the key. And if you don't, as I said, you're taking away levels of responsibility. We'll get to the investment part in a little bit, but more importantly, the accountability of it all. And next thing you know, you wind up getting people that they just like being managed. That's the sad thing. I mean, that to me is what happens when you are, let's say, a micromanager, and then the product of that could either be people leaving, don't get me wrong, or people that just become reliant. Like, okay, whatever. My boss will handle it anyway. So I'll wait for them to come on the scene. It's like, no, you're an officer and we need to solve these matters quick when it happens. And you can't be waiting for someone else to make the decision for you. So I definitely agree that definitely empowerment does lead to quicker decision making, faster problem resolution. And I like that decreased dead time, because that decreased dead time, we don't always have that in corrections. That's very limited. When we got to solve a matter, it's usually pretty quick. So you want to eliminate any obstacle between the need to make the decision and the outcome of that decision. Okay, so that brings us to number 3. Empowering staff brings investment and value. And what I mean by value, Russ, real quick, is how the employee feels about themselves in alignment with the vision or the mission that must be completed. What's your thoughts on that, Russ?
Yeah, well, certainly, that value is key. We want our people to feel valuable. Value goes a lot toward retention, but don't forget too, the value can also mean a lot about what they're able to render to any given situation. We're investing our time, we're investing our training, we're investing, everything that we can into these individuals, and they're returning that value, but they should be receiving value in return. So I think value doesn't stop at the limits of what they're receiving. It's also what we get back from them, because we get an employee that's better able to make decisions. We get an employee that's safer. We get an employee that's able to act autonomously and not have to be supervised all the time. We have an employee then that can go off and actually be that self-starter to bring that mission home and finish things out. Or we can do the opposite and we can stunt everybody's growth and see how far up the chain we can kick every decision and just let it all fall down around us.
Yeah, and guys, just in agreement with Russ here, when it comes to that investment, that is so important, right? I mean, we want people to be invested in the outcome. I think that's key, because again, when you have people that are invested in the outcome, it's like a founder's mentality. They're invested in the outcome because they know that they're a piece of that. And that to me is key. And that kind of bleeds into the value of it all. Like, if you trust me and you allow me to make decisions, you're also telling me that you value me as an employee. You value me on the front line. So again, just think about what that empowerment says. I mean, it's trust, but it also allows the person to make decisions so they can be invested in an outcome, which means that if there's a success, they can take in on that. They can feel a level of responsibility towards that success. And even if there's a level of failure, that's fine. Failure is feedback. We can grow from that. And I'm going to be honest with you guys, failure sometimes is the best way to learn. But as long as you have the right people behind you cultivating your growth, you shouldn't be afraid to fail, because they're going to be watching you from a distance anyway. They're not going to let you go too far down the wrong path. But, they are going to let you make decisions, because the key is to really be comfortable with that decision making. And again, the value definitely does come across when you're able to make decisions and people allow you to make those decisions. I mean, so definitely empowering staff brings investment and value. I think that's definitely a really big benefit. And all that plays out again with the staff morale, by the way. Let's not forget that. Having employees that feel value definitely adds to higher morale in the workplace. Now, this is cool. Empowering staff improves processes and procedures and innovation. So I just want to start up before I go to Russ real quick, is that innovation doesn't really occur at the highest level. Innovation occurs at the front line, because they're the ones that are maneuvering and constantly making the wheels move, if you will. So when we talk about empowering staff improves process and procedures, innovation, it's true. The people that are doing the work are the ones that are going to find better ways to do it. So if you're at the front at management and you don't allow for the front line to speak up and bring their innovation to the top, then you are putting a lid not just on those individuals, but you're also putting a lid on yourself and a lid on the agency. Because again, the biggest growth doesn't really come from the top down. I mean, they'll suggest things, but the growth really does come from the bottom up because that's where we're the most innovative. They can suggest things all they want up top. It's down here that has to find the magic and make it happen. So again, for me, if I look for innovation and I look for growth and resourcefulness, I look down here and I will do whatever I can to get that message to come up so we can grow as an agency. But Russ, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, innovation almost always happens at that lower frontline level. The things that you see, that happen at the top, for better or for worse, they tend to be solutions that are stagnated in things the way they were, 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago. Too often, though, we just get looked at or told that, hey, you're just officers or you're just sergeants. Let us up here at the top make the decision. And sometimes there's kind of a divorce from what we see and what they're able to see. They're 2 or 3 places removed from it all. They're not working in it every single day. They're not seeing the things that we see. And so if we get disenfranchised from being part of the solution, we'll end up being part of the problem.
Yeah, and I agree with that, guys. If we don't open our ears to the front line, I mean, obviously, besides even just making the efforts to grow, we're going to be limited in the knowledge as to what resources they need. So again, you got to allow for that communication to occur. But I do agree with Russ, and like I said before, innovation really starts here, and that's how you evolve those policies, procedures, and processes. I mean, really, it does, as long as you stay open to those that have ideas to help evolve those policies and procedures. All right. And we also have now empowering staff ultimately makes for a better work culture. So we kind of touched on morale, but what's your thoughts on that, Russ, on a bigger picture, on a more macro level?
Okay, so when I pull this out, and it's something that I'm passionate about when I talk about what our culture should be, what our philosophy should be in corrections, because too often we let things fall down to what I call the least common denominator. We're not out there striving to make things better. We're not out there trying to put our philosophy into play so that we breed a culture that's worth having. That's why I talk about, on Keepers of Chaos all the time about the corrections professional, right? The corrections professional knows that culture is important, knows that philosophy is important, and knows that we have to do all of those things. Empowering is just one of those that we need to do for our people in order to make little clones of ourselves. If we're a really good corrections professional, we want to clone ourselves as many times as we can to get people doing the same the same successful strategies and tactics that we're using, right? So they can take them and innovate, further refine, and really spread things towards making a much safer facility, a safer institution, a safer department. So when we look at all those things, culture, is work ethic. Culture is training. Culture is, not having that code of silence. Culture is not being a micromanager. Culture is doing that thing that I just talked about trying to clone yourself, and so many more things, because we have to really work at that, that professionality within the system that we've got. And if we just sit back and we don't empower people, what we do is we cut off part of that culture and we make it less robust, less diverse, and less able to deal with all of the problems that there are within corrections. You're mute.
Darn it. Darn it. Hey, guys, I actually, in the facilities I've worked at, I could definitely see good working cultures where you actually can see the empowerment of the how and things getting done. I mean, I could see it on the administrative level when it's like, hey, I need to get this done, not a problem. And you pretty much just tell them what you need to get done. They handle every letter of the alphabet, A through Z. And again, that's really from a history of, what was allowed. I mean, I'm going to tell you something, guys. You have great momentum, and all of a sudden you get the wrong person in the higher position, and they start becoming a hiccup to every letter of the alphabet. It also becomes very burdensome on management, who is just looking to get something done. And next thing you know, you got staff that think, okay, I did A. Okay, well, do the next part. What's the next part? B. Oh, then do the next part, C. It's like, man, just a couple of weeks ago, we were going A through Z. What happened? So when I look at a work culture that's empowered, I look for a work culture that's constantly got momentum moving forward. And yes, that does have to be maintained. Obviously, that's what we do as management. We do what we can to maintain that momentum. But I really do think that a good working culture, a good empowering culture has momentum all the time moving forward, really within the how and the decision-making of how things need to be carried out. And another good added point to that too, just to build that connection and really add to that momentum, is once you give out the what and they figure out the how, don't forget to explain the why things have to be done. Because in the process of them figuring out the how, it's good for them to know the why, because the why will add value to what it is that they're doing. So that will also increase the momentum, and I believe increase the morale, because I think that the why is the task significance behind it all, which means this is what you're doing, and it's great you're able to make these decisions. I want you to know everything that you did today related to this at the bigger picture. And I think that just kind of further motivates people, because the last thing you want is, I look for an agency that's very goal conscious and not role conscious. So what I want to do is I always want to connect the work to something bigger, so I can keep people's mind on what the goal is at the highest level and where that task significance plays out, just so we all know how we work with each other. Because the momentum is not really just for one department. On the biggest levels, for every department working together as one. So every time you get a chance to connect the pieces and show how this effort here connected to the highest picture at top, that really does create a higher level momentum. That really does help the house. And again, like for me, I work for the house, not for individuals. So anytime I can bring everything together and move forward with greater momentum, with many pieces moving at once, that's a great day. And I want to add one more thing before we get to closing. Someone had said, hey, Gangi, it's a great day when it's uneventful. That's a successful day. There's nothing uneventful in corrections. A successful day is on the back end of a lot of work that made it successful. So I don't like saying uneventful or nothing happened. It's a great day. No, everything happened to make it work the way it needed to work. Hey, Russ, anything you'd like to say in closing?
Yeah, I just want to say, I hope people found this helpful. A lot of these things that Anthony and I bring up are things that really have to be internalized, and all at different levels, of course. There's things as an officer you can do to internalize this, or a sergeant or a lieutenant, but especially as we start talking about reaching higher and higher up the ladder. So think about these things, internalize them, promote, and then make corrections all the much better.
And guys, that's the key, guys. I mean, at the end of the day, I think empowering leads to evolution. I mean, in the end, we want leaders to be training people to be leaders, not training people to kind of just follow. We want people to be leaders in this profession. Eventually, we want people to pass us. So again, not allowing your staff to make decisions on the front line definitely minimizes value, minimizes trust, and you wind up with front line that just don't want to make any decisions at all, waiting for management to come down and run the unit or do their job. And we don't want that in corrections, guys. We're spread thin already. We want those decisions made at the front line so we can go ahead and move forward with our day. So I think it was a great topic, great tips. Thank you, Russ, for coming on. And as always, guys, the show is Tier Talk. If you haven't, please subscribe, interact, engage, comment, hit that bell. Bell's going to notify every time I post a video. Stay safe.